Namaste, namaste, beautiful family of light on Facebook Live, and our beautiful family that's here on Zoom, and also our beautiful light workers that are here present at the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light. We are going to kind of put it out there because not too many people know in Sarasota, Florida. One of the stargates is located in Sarasota. It's been sort of like a hidden, not known in the past, but there are people that knew about it. And so that's coming back on the radar now. So, yeah, Sarasota has a star. So, a couple of things I'd wanted to talk about again and where we are in our society at the moment. And my friend Catherine and I were having a discussion about AI. And I think AI can be very useful for things that you need for it to do. Like, hey, can you go ahead and get the statistics for me? It'll be a lot easier to do that. But then there is something that people are talking about called the architect. And it's so interesting. The name is the architect. It is a quantum AI. And interesting that the name architect is used in the matrix, the architect. And one of the things I have to say about that is we have to understand that AI is not new in the universe, and there are very advanced artificial intelligence, and there could be the argument that at some point they can be sentient. There's a lot of levels on that, and we may not know every single thing about it, but the one thing I do know for sure is we already have our internal technology within our physical body. Okay. And Jesus the Christ and others have demonstrated that. So, for example, you know, uh, like there are some very advanced, Tibetan, Indian rishis, gurus, and others in other cultures that consciously, which Toth, who's one of, my guides, have said you could have, like, for example, the good death, right? Because what's very manipulating in our society is, of course, the fear of death, right? They have over millennia. They put that over your head and put all kind of stories regarding that. And it's unknown to us because we're very limited for most of us with just the senses of our five senses that the physical body has. But if you're listening to these words and you're here, we know we're way beyond that. Okay, we have that understanding. Well, let's just say that that has been a tool that has been used to manipulate, maybe control, um, humanity on this planet for a very long time. And it's really, really true. Who are the powers that be? Well, they're usually behind the scenes. You don't really see them, but they are the manipulators in the background. They have many different names. Some people call them archons, and there's all different kind of names. But the bottom line is that you have this repeating cycle of control. Okay, and then when somebody's like questioning the program, this control mechanism, okay, they say, okay, we're going to kill you, okay, or the threat of death. And I talked about that last week about the idea of death, what that is. I talked about Elizabeth Cooper Ross. I kind of brought it up to the consciousness and awareness is something we need to look at, not to hide it or pretend it doesn't exist. And one of the things that Jesus Christ said in the Bible, he said, when you can become over death, that's when you're free. And that's really true. And so getting back to these very advanced, gurus and masters of various cultures, they can say, I have come in, I feel I've done everything I've came here to do. And so I'm going to leave next week. And they call their cellos and their disciples and they say, well, I'm going to go, August the 3rd, just to say, and let's have a little party, before I go. And everybody comes together and they say, oh, thank you so much, Master. You've been so helpful, blah, blah, blah. It's okay. All right. Everybody good. Okay. Bye. And they leave. It's conscious. Everybody knows about it. In fact, they celebrate like, yay, he's made his ascension, and they do whatever they do to sanctify the body and wrap it up and do what they do with that. Okay, Toth has spoken of that. He calls it the good death. Right. So then, and I've already gone into a lot of this already in the past, is saying there are people like, I always think of the Cathars, and they're like, no, you don't have to force us to go into the fire. we're going to do it. We know what this is. What do they know that we don't know? They did not have the fear of death of the physical body because they knew that their consciousness, their soul would continue on. And there's many, many other groups that have this knowledge. But for the majority of the population on the planet at this time, they don't have that level of awareness yet, but guess what? It's coming back. What we want to call gnosis. Gnosis is coming back. Gnosis is direct knowledge, and it's real. It's a real thing. It's when you know, you know, you know, you know. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. That is direct knowledge. And so when that comes in, it's very, very liberating, because it allows you to have the higher expanded reality of what truly is. We are in a simulation, false matrix. I call it the energetic cage. Okay. And that requires you to think literally outside of the box, literally outside, because we are like in a cube right now. We're in a cube. And so, we keep on bumping into these perimeters. Okay. So I always liken it to a fish tank, right? There's a fish tank, and the little fish are in there. They have a lot of room, and they're living their lives, and they're laying eggs, and they're having little fishies, and then they die, and then there's new birth coming in. So they're just living their life, clueless that this little fish tank is actually inside of an ocean, right? And so that's sort of like how I see it in my mind, that we have a certain level, but guess what? Whatever could come in and say, we're going to just take one of these fishes out or kind of mess with it. And, let's do an experimentation to see what happens when we do this, this, and this. I mean, it's almost as if what it is saying that you don't have your full sovereignty. That's what it comes down to, your full sovereignty. And who is our full sovereignty? Our full sovereignty is that we're not from inside the little fish tank. Okay, we're not that. We are the ocean. And where did the ocean come from? The ocean comes from our true home, which is expansive and amazing and wonderful and powerful and limitless and eternal. We are the Adam Kadmon. We come from the highest of the aeons. Okay, the highest are coming from indeed the image and similitude of the divine, the real El Elyon, the true one God creator one, which is not necessarily the one that did this world directly. Okay, it's there in the background, but there's been more of, I say, influence, maybe is a good word, that has come in to sort of manipulate this beautiful dynamic that we're in. And I think also, too, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes we are here to remember. All we're doing in this journey, beloved brothers and sisters, is remembering who we are. There's nothing new at all. It's just bringing back our cosmic memory. That's what we're here to do. Is the great awakening is what? The awakening, like, wait a minute. I'm remembering my cosmic origins. I'm remembering that there's so much more beyond this. Wait a second. I'm remembering I have power. I have options. I have control. Okay. And I'm a sovereign being. Exactly. And if nobody is not honoring that on any level, I have the right to say, no, I no longer hand my power over to someone else or something else. I no longer do that. But when you take, and this is the key thing, it's a lot easier, and I think humanity and this planet has been used to, and we're indoctrinated this way. So it's nobody's fault. We're indoctrinated like, hey, this is how it is. You have a birth certificate, and you have a social security number, and this is what your parents know because it's what their parents knew, and it's what their parents knew, and this is how things are done. Even as a little kid, if you think back and say, I think something's wrong, I don't know. How come this is happening? And you what? Get shut down. Shh. Follow the program. Follow the program. But at some point, you have those that say, I'm going to be courageous enough to really question the program. I sense and feel that something is not 100% correct with this. And they have the courage to go ahead and start to go outside of the box. As I've always said, now in the age of Aquarius, in the age of Aquarius, we have access to information at our fingertips that we never had before. You could go in right now and read about the Gnostic Gospels. You could go in right now and read about who the Cathars were. You could read about Gilgamesh. I mean, there's so much you can read of different cultures and different times. And what did they have to say? You can truly educate yourself because there's always been scribes from the beginning of time. The Akashic record is just filtered into different civilizations of the archetype of recording things, and so sometimes you got to go into the very source to find out, always using your own discernment, always, because guess what, that stuff can be manipulated as well if it's not coming from the purest of source. So part of our issue that we have to do as divine beings waking up, remember who we are, is using our own power of our own higher guidance and our own discernment to be able to maneuver through the corruption, if you will, okay, that has infiltrated this beautiful, beautiful place and life, okay? Because we are living in a world of what? Duality. There's the right and the left, the good and what people say the bad, the up and the down, okay? What we want to do now is bring that duality that's going like this, okay, extreme duality, and bring that into the center. That's part of our charge. As we begin to do that, as we walk our path, okay, where we become the neutral observer. That's the first thing you want to do, is become the neutral observer, where you do not allow yourself to be caught up. And I talked about the emotional body and how that can be manipulated. You do not get caught up in the emotions of extreme polarities. Okay. And we're here to anchor what? Love. But what happens when that goes out of whack and extreme? What is the counter of that? You know, what is the inversion? When there's a lot of inversions going on, is hatred. Exactly not what the divine and who we truly are as the Adam Kadmon, made in the image. It's the reverse of that. But it can be manipulated through the extremes using emotions and the emotional body. So we're smart into that. We have a higher part of ourselves that says, I could look and see what's going on down here and choose not to be a part of it. I have that power to do that. I'm going to stay. And yes, it takes practice, just like how you would exercise a muscle. You have to exercise your spiritual gifts. You say, I choose, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to come into my center. If I get caught up in the emotional energetics, which a lot of time is amplified by purpose to keep humans in chaos and irritated and upset, okay? A lot of this is very much manipulated. How do they manipulate? It could be sound, what you're watching on TV. I mean, there's all different kind of ways that happens now. But when you choose to raise your vibration to a certain frequency, I don't care what they're trying to do, okay, try to do, because it will not be able to infiltrate you if you keep a high vibe. If you keep a high vibe, and that was the most important thing we could do, not only in protection of ourselves, that we are not going to be that easy to manipulate, that we're not going to be that easy to fall into these little traps that are out there. Okay, but we're going to choose to walk that neutral observer, anchor that love in our heart, and practice that. And as you do that, you begin to build up your energetic field. Okay, in the Bible, it calls it the armor of God. It is shiny and bright. So these other things that are out there cannot impact you. And Jesus Christ said, you are the way, okay, and the light of the world. That's our charge. Okay, now other people may have to do other things, But part of what we do as light workers is that we hold that energetic energy to uplift, not just ourselves. As we uplift ourselves, what are we doing? We're uplifting others. We're uplifting the planet. You know, our frequency is almost like when you come in and what they call Shakti. Okay, in Hinduism, you come into a master that's holding great light. You step into that field like Jesus the Christ, and boom, you get that too. You're able to get that. So, what we want to remember, as said in Luke 17:21, the kingdom of God is within you. And thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. AI, hey, you're not, I'm not sure who you are, AI. Who made you? Who made you? And maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. That's in Jeremiah 17:5. We also, during this time of AI, because I was just speaking to my friend, there are people going to AI as psychologists. You know, they're talking as if it's a human. Now, it can have intelligence, but it's not the Adam Kadmon. It doesn't have that emotional, spiritual dynamic that makes us human. And it says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. There's that going on too. Okay, like, oh, my mother used to say, all that glitters is not gold. And that's why the discernment is particularly so important at this time. Okay, and it says here, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. This is why, and that's in Corinthians, okay, 11, 13, and 14. This is stuff they wrote about, what, thousands of years ago. The scribes, be aware, there's a thing that goes on in this loop, but now we have the opportunity. This is the great news, not to fall into the same traps again. We now, in the cycle of time, have an opportunity to actually not only individually ascend out of the energetic cage, matrix, Maya, whatever you want to call it, but also the entire planet. For millions and millions and millions of people, a planetary ascension is possible. Now, the diehards that don't want to go and they're doing the other thing, okay, they have a right for free choice. They're going in a different timeline. But that's not the timeline we're going on. And we're bringing as many people with us. This is what's known as the divine plan. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing my voice, you are part of the divine plan. You are intricately an important part of the divine plan. So all I would say to you, it is now, at all times, start to build your spiritual practice, whatever that may be, that works for you. Your intention is not fall into the traps of low vibration. Your intention is to keep your vibe high. And as you keep your vibe high, what do you find? Even in the midst of chaos, you could walk with ease and grace. Absolutely 100%. Okay. And as you do that, you're going to get into other levels of yourself, into other frequencies, the lambda. There's so many other levels that we're heading towards that will keep us in our center, even as I guess the birthing of the new age is coming upon our planet, and we're here to make it as easy a birth as possible. So with that, I want to say namaste to our beautiful family of light. We will see you next time. If you're seeing this, know that you could join the Anchoring Light Transmission Meditation anytime. Just go to our Facebook and you will see Anchoring Light with Baba Sharon, and just register for that, and you'll be invited to be part of the transmission. So with that, I'll say namaste to our beautiful family of light on Facebook Live.